legendary thief whose face has never been seen by police, agencies, or even Interpol across the world is known as Shadow Weaver. The world is filled with mysteries humanity has never fully understood, but among all those unsolved secrets, one stands above the rest, an enigma that even today is acknowledged by detectives, scientists, historians, and global security agencies alike. It is the story of a man the world labeled as a thief, yet his actions felt more like a quiet attempt to preserve the forgotten truth of human history. His name was written in red ink in the intelligence files of every powerful nation, but ordinary people knew him by another name: a shadow, a whisper, a presence without shape or sound. They called him the Shadow Weaver. What he truly was, man, myth, or some strange intersection of both, remains unknown. The legend began on the night something impossible happened inside one of the most secure buildings on Earth, the Unified Museum of Global Artifacts. Inside this fortress rested thousands of relics from ancient civilizations. At nearly 3 in the morning, when the sky crackled softly with drizzle and the city slept under a blanket of wet darkness, the museum was alive with automated patrols, laser grids, guard bots, heat sensors, and multi-layer detectors. Everything operated with mechanical perfection. But the next morning, security teams stared in disbelief at a scene that made no logical sense. The Firen's luminous eye, 3,000-year-old sapphire relic glowing faintly with natural phosphor, was missing. No glass was broken, no alarm had been triggered, no lock showed signs of tampering. The display case hadn't moved a millimeter yet. The relic had vanished. When they checked the surveillance footage, all they found was a 1-second glitch, just a flicker of something dark slipping through the laser grids. Not a body, not a silhouette, just a shadow, as if darkness itself entered, touched the relic, and disappeared. That was the moment the world first murmured the name, Shadow Weaver. But what truly happened that night? No one knows until now. At that exact moment, on the outskirts of the city, an old man sat alone inside a dim, rain-washed room. The light was off. Only the shimmer from the wet window illuminated the cracked walls. He held a cup of hot tea, watching the water slide down the glass like tiny rivers. When he sensed movement behind him, he turned slowly. Someone was standing there, tall, wrapped in a long black coat, face half hidden behind a mask, eyes still and impossibly calm. The old man sighed. "You've returned. Will this be the last time?" Shadow Weaver didn't answer. He silently placed the relic onto the wooden table. The old man leaned closer, and his breath caught. This wasn't a theft. This was recovery, preservation, rescue. "How long will you walk this path, my boy?" he whispered. Shadow Weaver finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "As long as the real owners remain unheard." Simple words, but full of weight. He never stole for greed.
He reclaimed what powerful hands had twisted, hidden, or used for their own gain. Every artifact he took had a buried truth behind it, a truth someone didn't want the world to know. He worked alone. He answered to no one. No gang, no syndicate, no shadow organization controlled him. The world believed he possessed supernatural abilities, but the truth was stranger. Shadow Weaver could see what others couldn't. Where ordinary eyes saw a deadly laser barrier, he saw the rhythm. Tiny moments when the beams blinked, overlapped, or slowed. Where others saw solid glass, he saw reflections, angles, a pattern in the surface. To him, stealing was a science, calculation, an art form. But the world only saw the outcome. Empty vaults, vanished artifacts, and a ghost no one could catch. Very few knew the deeper truth. He had once been a simple student, a researcher obsessed with uncovering lost histories. His work had brought him dangerously close to a secret organization intent on keeping certain truths buried. When he refused to surrender his findings, they tried to erase him. But he survived. That night, the Shadow Weaver was born. His first retrieval was a small manuscript containing forbidden knowledge erased from historical records. Then came relics, scrolls, encrypted tablets, hidden maps, each one revealing a puzzle piece of humanity's forgotten past. To those who understood his purpose, he was a silent guardian. To the world, he was a criminal. And to governments, he was a threat too unpredictable to ignore. Interpol formed a specialized unit solely to track him. AI surveillance systems were trained to detect his movement patterns. Spy satellites were reprogrammed to search for anomalies in human motion. Nothing worked.
One cold evening in Rome, their chance finally came. Shadow Weaver had just exited an old underground laboratory where he had authenticated a rare artifact. Rain slicked the cobblestones as he walked down a deserted alley. 6 elite Interpol agents closed in behind him, silent steps, suppressed weapons, perfect formation. Halt. Hands where we can see them. Shadow Weaver turned. No fear. No tension. Only calm acceptance in his eyes, as if he already knew how this moment would unfold. Thunder rolled in the distance. Rain thickened. And then, something impossible happened. He stepped back, and his figure blurred, mingling with the falling rain. The agents blinked. In that fraction of a second, he was gone. Not running. Not hiding. Gone, absorbed into the night like a shadow dissolving into darkness. He never fired a weapon. Never harmed anyone. That was his most sacred rule. Truth cannot be protected through violence. But this disappearance ignited fear among global agencies. Because everything pointed to one terrifying possibility. Shadow Weaver had taken the light of Solaris, a relic believed to contain energy from a forgotten civilization, a power source so advanced it defied modern science. And every powerful organization on Earth wanted it. They didn't know why he took it, where he was going, or what secret the relic held. They only knew one thing. If someone like him chose to act, the world should be afraid of why. Because this was no longer the tale of a thief. This was the beginning of a war. A war over truth, over history, over power buried for thousands of years. And the Shadow Weaver was walking straight into the storm. The storm had swallowed the night completely when Shadow Weaver stepped away from the world everyone knew and entered the one only a handful understood. With the light of Solaris hidden beneath the folds of his coat, he moved through the narrow European streets like a drifting echo. The relic pulsed faintly against his chest, warm, rhythmic, almost alive. Each pulse felt like the breath of an ancient civilization whispering secrets through time. He knew what it meant. The relic wasn't just a source of energy. It was a key. And someone else was searching for the lock. But Shadow Weaver wasn't the only one moving that night. Across oceans and continents, silent orders were being issued. Screens glowed inside war rooms, red dots blinked on digital maps, and encrypted messages rushed through satellites. Every powerful entity, private, military, political, technological, wanted the relic back, but not to protect it. They wanted control. Power. Domination hidden beneath the veil of research and preservation. None of them realized how dangerous the relic truly was. Shadow Weaver didn't stop until he reached an abandoned railway station deep in the outskirts of Prague. Overgrown vines clung to rusted metal pillars, and the roof sagged like an old memory. Inside, where echoes had once danced with the whistle of trains, now there was nothing but stillness. He wasn't alone. A figure stepped out from behind a pillar, a woman with wind-tossed hair, eyes sharp like blades, movements precise as geometry. Her name was Lyra Vale. She was one of the few who understood why Shadow Weaver did what he did. Once, long ago, she had been a historian. Later, a researcher. Then hunted. Like him. "You brought it, didn't you?" she asked, voice low. The storm had swallowed the night completely when Shadow Weaver stepped away from the world everyone knew and entered the one only a handful understood. With the light of Solaris hidden beneath the folds of his coat, he moved through the narrow European streets like a drifting echo. The relic pulsed faintly against his chest, warm, rhythmic, almost alive. Each pulse felt like the breath of an ancient civilization whispering secrets through time. He knew what it meant. The relic wasn't just a source of energy. It was a key. And someone else was searching for the lock. But Shadow Weaver wasn't the only one moving that night. Across oceans and continents, silent orders were being issued. Screens glowed inside war rooms, red dots blinked on digital maps, and encrypted messages rushed through satellites. Every powerful entity, private, military, political, technological, wanted the relic back, but not to protect it. They wanted control. Power. Domination hidden beneath the veil of research and preservation. None of them realized how dangerous the relic truly was. Shadow Weaver didn't stop until he reached an abandoned railway station deep in the outskirts of Prague. Overgrown vines clung to rusted metal pillars, and the roof sagged like an old memory. Inside, where echoes had once danced with the whistle of trains, now there was nothing but stillness. He wasn't alone. A figure stepped out from behind a pillar, a woman with wind-tossed hair, eyes sharp like blades, movements precise as geometry. Her name was Lyra Vale. She was one of the few who understood why Shadow Weaver did what he did. Once, long ago, she had been a historian. Later, a researcher. Then hunted. Like him. "You brought it, didn't you?" she asked, voice low. The train lurched forward. As the darkness enclosed them, Lyra leaned back. "Do you remember the first relic you retrieved?" she asked softly. "I remember everything," he said. "You were different then." He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the relic in his hands. Its glow throbbed more quickly now, as if reacting to something neither of them could see. He had always felt connected to artifacts, like they whispered to him, like history itself called his name. But the light of Solaris was different. It didn't whisper. It warned. Hours later, deep in the night, the train screeched to a halt. Lyra snapped awake. Shadow Weaver was already alerted, muscles coiled, senses sharp. Through the thin metal walls, they heard footsteps. Heavy. Coordinated. Boots stepping on gravel with military precision. Then came the hiss of a plasma cutter slicing through steel. "They found us," Lyra whispered. Shadow Weaver grabbed her wrist and pulled her deeper into the machinery compartment. Before the hatch blew open, they slid into the service duct that led beneath the train. As fire from the cutter showered sparks onto the floor, they crawled into the darkness, moving silently, inch by inch. The moment they dropped onto the rocky ground outside, the explosion hit. The compartment they had been in erupted into shards of flame. Shadow Weaver shielded Lyra with his body as debris rained around them. When he looked up, shapes emerged through the smoke, armed operatives wearing suits embedded with reactive armor. Their visors scanned the surroundings with infrared sensors. These weren't Interpol agents. These were Ascendancy hunters. Kale had sent them. Shadow Weaver grabbed Lyra's hand and sprinted toward the abandoned forest near the tracks. Plasma shots tore through trees behind them, slicing branches like burning knives. Shadow Weaver didn't stop. He knew every second counted. Hunters didn't need to catch them, they only needed to delay them long enough for Kale to arrive. They ran until the forest thinned and opened into an old military ruin. Crumbling walls. Rusted fences. Broken towers. Everything smelled like lost wars. Shadow Weaver scanned the area quickly, then spotted something underground, an access hatch leading to an old communication bunker. "In there," he said. They dropped inside seconds before the hunters reached the clearing. The hatch sealed, plunging them into darkness that felt alive. Lyra activated a small light. Dust swirled in the stale air. Old computers, broken cables, and shattered screens surrounded them like ghosts of forgotten conflicts. "We won't have long," Lyra whispered. Shadow Weaver kneeled and placed the relic on a metal crate. Its glow cast long shadows across the bunker. He closed his eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through it. Then he saw it. Not with his eyes, but with the part of him that connected with the artifact. A map. A memory. A warning. The relic was reacting to something beneath the Earth's crust. Something buried. Something waiting. Lyra touched his shoulder. "What do you see?" "Coordinates," he said quietly. "In the Karakoram Mountains." "The origin site," she breathed. where the ancient builders created the core. But before they could plan, the hatch above them cracked open. A metal boot stomped on the edge. Hunters poured in like shadows descending into darkness. Shadow Weaver snatched the relic and pulled Lyra behind a fallen pillar. Plasma fire shattered equipment around them. He reached into his coat and pulled out his only weapon, an EMP shard, tiny but powerful. He threw it toward the bunker's entrance. A blinding pulse rippled outward. The hunters' suits flickered, then died, collapsing under their own weight. But the EMP also destabilized the old bunker. Concrete groaned. Walls cracked. The ceiling shuddered. "We have to move," Lyra shouted.
They rushed through a collapsing corridor that led to a back exit. Dust fell like rain. The air trembled. Stones crashed around them. Shadow Weaver shielded the relic as the entire structure caved in behind them. They burst into the cold night air, just as the bunker swallowed itself whole. For a moment, there was silence. Then a voice echoed from the tree line, smooth, calm, chilling. "You always were difficult to corner." Shadow Weaver turned slowly. Kale Varin stepped forward, flanked by 2 armored sentinels. His presence was unnerving because of his size, but because of his utter stillness. His eyes glowed with intellectual hunger, not rage. He looked at Shadow Weaver like a scientist examining a rare specimen. "That relic," Kale said, "was never yours." Shadow Weaver's grip tightened around the core. "It was never yours either." Kale smiled faintly. "Everything eventually belongs to the one who can use it properly." Lyra stepped forward. "You don't understand the danger." Kale glanced at her, amused. "Danger? This relic can reshape nations, erase borders, bend reality around the will of its bearer. And you fear danger? You should," Shadow Weaver said. Kyle lifted a hand. The sentinels raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the relic pulsed so violently that the air rippled like disturbed water. Shadow Weaver staggered. Lyra gasped. Even Kale took a half step back. The relic was awakening. A beam of golden light streaked upward, shooting into the sky. Clouds parted. The ground trembled. A deep vibration rippled through the forest, through the earth, through them. "What did you do?" Kale shouted. Shadow Weaver didn't answer. He didn't know. The relic was responding to something far away, calling to it, or warning it. When the light dimmed, the relic burned hot in his hands. His heart pounded. He met Lyra's eyes. They were filled with fear. "The mountains," she whispered. "We have to go. Now." Kale lunged forward, but Shadow Weaver threw a flash burst, blinding everyone for precious seconds. He grabbed Lyra's hand and vanished into the forest. Branches snapped behind them. Kale's furious command echoed through the night. "Hunt them down. Don't let them reach the origin site." Shadow Weaver and Lyra ran deeper into the darkness, where no maps existed, where no cameras could follow, where history itself lay buried under stone and ice. Ahead of them waited the truth behind the relic. Behind them came the footsteps of men who wanted to rewrite the world, and above them the sky trembled with an ancient force, waking after thousands of years. The storm had only begun. If you want, I can continue the next long part, where the story reaches the mountains, ancient machines awaken, Shadow Weaver learns his true origin, and the entire world faces a turning point.